Einstein has the great thing, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler.
We are about to launch.
What's up, everybody? Truth, not trends. That's right. We're here live in the studio in Oakland. This is the podcast where we help you maximize your strength as safely and efficiently as possible. Training outside the box, changing the world one set at a time. That is Truth, not trends. I am Liam TAKU Bauer. I've been a strength coach for 37 years and counting.
37.
I'm 37?
Going to class.
Oh my God. 37.
In a row?
Today, I was privileged and thankful to have number 2 in our client success series, TNT Strength Success Series, with my guest, Frank Paré. Frank is a professional money management guy, and we're going to go into all kinds of cool things. He's been a client with us for a while. He likes to run and do marathons specifically, and joined us to support that process and is crushing it in his workouts. So look forward to checking out that TNT Success interview coming up. But before we get to that, let me remind you that at TNT Strength, we recommend a high-protein whole food diet. And in case you need something that's missing from your plan, we do sell 5 amazing supplements, starting off, with, of course, with a delicious, chocolatey good whey protein, making sure you get those protein numbers met every day. Remember, protein is the one thing that you have to get every day. Don't worry about carbs. Don't worry about fat. You play with those how you like, but never miss those protein numbers. Change the other ones around any way you like. On top of that, we've got our K2D3 for those immunities, bone stuff, all that good things. We've got a great fish oil supplement for some friendly fats. Get those omega-3s. We have probiotics for that gut health, which is very important. Believe it or not, getting your gut health in order can manage a whole bunch of other things that might be plaguing you, and you might never have thought that it has something to do with your tummy. And finally, we have creatine monohydrate, the number 1 most effective strength training supplement out there. Has so many benefits. The research just continues to roll out. Get your creatine. Make sure you take it every day. We do. Also, remember, if you're trying to build an amazing home gym, we recommend the Anata Gym. Anata Gym is a strength smart gym platform company that makes awesome products. I have 2 of them here at TNT Strength, the Anata Gym P1 Max, the flagship, and the P1 Lite. They are programmable strength platforms, which basically replicate barbells and dumbbells. You can program them. You can alter how the resistance works. You can have heavy negatives. You can make it feel like a rubber band. You can do all kinds of things. They're so small, you can slide them under your bed. I highly recommend, if you're looking to build a home gym, you look into Anata Gym. And if you see what you like, what you see what you like what you see, do what you like what you do, you get one of those. Use the code TAKU, TAKU, when you check out, and you'll get 20% off anything in the Anata Gym store. All right, so sit back and enjoy this episode, number 2 in the TNT Strength Client Success Series with Frank Paré.
37?
Shut up.
Thank you for joining us, Frank. Welcome to the Truth Not Trends podcast. I'm excited to have you here with us today.
Good to be here.
Yeah. So I think if the first thing I always like to start with is just, introduce yourself to our audience and just a little bit about your background. And then I'm just going to fire some questions off, and you're just going to respond, freestyle.
Got it. Frank Paré. I am a financial professional living and working in Oakland, beautiful Oakland, California. Married, 3 kids, a dog, and I'm glad to be here.
And it's Chinese New Year out there. Dong Hei Fat Choi, everybody. The year of the snake.
You're the snake. Happy New Year.
Yes. So what's your Chinese?
No,
You don't know? We're going to figure it out. All right. So again, thanks for joining us. And this is our second in our series of TNT success stories. So Frank's number 2, and in a soon to be immeasurable list.
Oh, yes, that's a stressful one.
You're number 1 in you're number 1 in my heart.
I'm number 2.
But you're number 2 in the series. Frank always wants to be number one, but I won't throw any shade. But scheduling can be challenging. All right, so
Technology.
he's here, and that's the most important thing. So my first question is, what inspired you to begin your fitness journey with TNT Strength Oakland, and how has it impacted your life overall?
What inspired me was thinking about running, or at least somehow or another getting in better shape to run. I was already running, but I wasn't quite sure whether or not I was getting in the weightlifting part, if you will. I run hills, run flats, fast, slow. I like to consider myself as someone who can run marathons. However, I also want to make sure that I'm maximizing my effort in some respects. So weightlifting had been a part of my sort of fitness journey previously. However, I had not done any weightlifting for a number of years. And so I had an important run coming up, and I wanted to make sure that not only was I running, but I was also lifting weights. And so I met your partner, Jesse Schmidt, and I visited your gym, talked with him, talked with you. I like the truth, not trends. And I like the fact that it was a 30-minute workout because my time is, as you know, somewhat limited. And I like the fact that I can get in here early in the morning and get it done.
Yeah.
So that was those were some of the primary drivers that inspired me to check you guys out.
Awesome. All right. So as someone deeply committed to financial planning, how do you draw like parallels between the discipline required for fitness and the discipline required for managing wealth?
What a great question. In many respects, there are a lot of trends out there in my profession. And oftentimes, when we're talking with clients, they'll articulate, as I'm sure you've encountered with your clients, they'll start sharing things that they either read on the internet, saw on YouTube, or in some instances, their friends, family. And often it's not based on any truth per se. It's a lot of trend. It's a lot of individuals who are promoting, I guess they call them influencers, various ways of making money quick. And oftentimes those quick money making schemes lead to disaster.
Yeah.
So that's one area where there's some clear parallel. But the other thing too, with respect to discipline, oftentimes we have to reinforce sort of staying on the plan, irrespective of what's happening in the market, world events, the economy. What drives us are our clients' goals, not so much the external factors. If we've done our job right, for instance, it doesn't matter what happens in, sort of their, world or whatever, unless it's something, personal, of course, they should be on track to achieving their goals.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. Yeah, the internet, right, for all its power and helpfulness, I guess, is just like, there's so much room for misinformation and confusion and people start to self-diagnose, right, regardless, whether it's medical or financial. I had a client come in yesterday and she came in and she said, I'm having a problem with my knee, right? And I said, okay, tell me about it. And they're like, she's like, well, it's my iliotibial band. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, I've been Googling it. And I go, well, your iliotibial band is completely over here and it's not part of your knee. You know what I mean?
Right.
I was like, it's on the side of your thigh and you're describing something that's in a totally different location. So I said, you're not doing yourself any favors by going to PubMed or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of that. And, YouTube, right? Or Instagram, I mean, it's just 98% garbage. And the other problem is even as someone who might be meaning well, right, in your profession or mine, they have a preference. They're trying to create a niche for themselves. They're trying to market themselves, and they try to, they push you into that lens.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, of course, there's a lot of that.
Right.
So, what were your fitness goals when you first started training at TNT Strength, and have they evolved over time?
Yeah, that's a again another great question. When I joined TNT, my primary goal was to just finish a marathon, and I didn't have any type of sort of time goal or anything like that. It was to finish. I like to consider myself the best type of client that I would want, in that I trust your expertise and I just show up. So when I show up here to work out, you just tell me what to do. I'm not bringing in any preconceived sort of, and today I want to lift with X amount of weight.
Right.
I'm here trusting your expertise to the extent that you're telling me, here's the weight we're going to work on today. You're telling me, here's the amount of time. You're telling me, here's the improvements that you're gaining. And for me, what I'm looking for after that is when I go out and run, I want to know that my body is responding differently now that I've been working out here. And I've noticed that. And that's a good thing. I mean, it's great to say, okay, I can look in the mirror and I see some definition. That's great. But the real benefit for me is, am I hitting the hills stronger? Am I, hitting the golf ball further?
Sure.
And if I am, great, because it's just another sort of step along the journey, rather than saying I need to, run this speed at this amount of, time, whatever. My goal every day is to show up and keep showing up the next day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And honestly, that is kind of the dream for us, right? Is we don't have to like unplug people from the matrix or, deprogram them or, or like have a debate every time they walk in the door, right? Because they already think they know what they're doing. I mean, I've had guys call in and say, I already know everything, so there's nothing you can worry. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, why are you calling me? And, I'm like they're like, I go to the gym and I'm like, okay. But yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say it that way because I literally tell people that when they sit down in front of me, I go, all you need to do is show up and do the work, right? And we will take care of everything else. Like you don't have to think about it. Just follow the plan.
Right.
And if you are here prepared to work hard, we will adjust everything in the background, right? That's our job.
Right.
And to keep moving that needle,
Right.
you don't have to think about it, right?
Right.
And people don't understand that one thing that happens often is people think it's not getting easier. You know what I mean? Like they think it's supposed to get easier, right?
Right.
And I said, yeah, that's because we keep making it get harder, right? You are stronger. And one of my peers mentioned this, which is something we haven't done. But he said, after 6 months or a year or whatever, I'll put them on the weight they did on the very first day, right? And maybe in the first day, they did a leg press with 100 pounds, right?
Right.
And now they're doing 300 pounds, right? And then they like, oh my God, I just did 70 reps with that, or I could do it for 4 minutes straight, right? Like they have that light bulb of, I really have come a long way, right? Like this was hard back then.
Right.
And they don't know, right? They're that we keep changing, what a 10 is for them, right? And we keep moving it up.
Right.
So, those things are always happening in the background.
That's a good thing. Right. So I'm here to challenge myself, and I'm just, trusting you guys to help me do that.
Awesome. So can you describe like a breakthrough moment during your training that made you feel like you were on the right track?
I can give you two. Last year I did the Oakland Marathon, and hills have always been kind of, as any runner will tell you, that they can be the beast sometimes. And I started feeling a sense of, as I was running, as I was getting close to where we're gonna be hitting some hills. I thought, oh, that's all I could think of. Oh crap, this is gonna hurt. And as I started hitting the hills, I noticed, I'm feeling pretty good. It hasn't hit me that this is hard yet.
Right.
And so I kept running, and I got to the top and I thought, wow, okay. So, you're going down the hill, but the course requires you to come back. And I thought, okay, well, that was easier than I thought, but I'm going to have to come back and hit this again.
Right.
And so, it wasn't that I didn't think, I'll just have to walk if I need to. It was, I don't want to walk. And so as I came back to hit the same hill, I was still feeling pretty good. And that's when it hit me that, this is feeling pretty good. It has to be, those leg presses that I've been put. Yeah. And then, there was another run, and this one I almost hate to talk about it because I'm still processing. I did the Antarctic marathon, and
Yeah.
it had snow and soft snow, hard ice, soft snow, hard ice. And I was running, and again, my legs felt good. Now, it's not to say that the weather was feeling good, yeah, but I was thinking, I am so glad I was doing those leg exercises. I'm hitting soft snow, hard ice and I can't really figure out what I'm going to be hitting one or the others because, it just changes. So those were two sort of breakthrough moments, if you will, where I thought, okay, the weightlifting is clearly having an impact on my running. And these are two examples of just running where it's evident. And I'll just quickly throw in a third. I mean, I tell people that I'm learning to play golf. It's really, I think a higher form of gardening. But the thing is, I know when I first started, I was hitting the ball not that far, but I was seeing it. And then after, again, being with you guys, I've noticed that I'm hitting the ball when I do a lot further. Sure. And it's like, wow, I'm killing it. Now, if I can only do it consistently,
Yeah.
you guys have no control over that. So those are just some examples where I've felt the benefits of coming to you guys, twice a week, 30 minutes each session. I tell my friends, you gotta believe me, it's only 30 minutes because they're old school. How can you do this in
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, those are
We get that so often. Yes, obviously I've worked with a lot of golfers over the years, and I frequently get that kind of feedback where they say, I had to back off on whole club, right, because I'm hitting too far almost, right,
right.
with the one I was using. And another thing, every activity that we do in golf is very great example, right? Is there's a lot of skill involved, in anything, but golf is highly technical, right?
Right.
And I tell people, imagine that, I snuck into your garage and put you had a Pinto, right? And I snuck in there and I put like a 400 cubic inch engine in there, right? You got out and the next day and you like hit the gas, you're like, whoa, right? You're like, but even though you're more powerful, the car, right? It doesn't improve your driving skills, right? It doesn't make you a better driver.
I know.
Yeah, so you get that's a separate thing, right? You gotta put the time in, right? And golf is a lifetime of of practice. So can you what are some challenges that you have faced with integrating fitness into kind of your busy professional life, and how did you kind of overcome those challenges?
The biggest challenge for me, ironically, is not so much the working out. It's reducing the fat percentage. And so I know we've talked about this a number of times, and I finally said, okay, I gotta make a commitment to being more sort of mindful of my diet. So I'm working towards, and I say working towards because I'm starting to track my caloric intake. I'm trying to increase my protein, to get it to the 185 grams of protein to hit my weight. I get that. But it's also recognizing there are certain foods that I've got to cut out, which I've done. So it's getting the fat percentage down because that's sort of the next element of my running. I love the fact that I'm building muscle, but now I got to reduce the fat. Sure. And so that's where I'm sort of focused now.
Got it. Yeah, and we tell people it's funny. That's another thing we talk about with a lot of people. Obviously, in the fitness business, especially personal training, losing body fat is a goal that almost everyone comes with, right? They may verbalize it differently, but it's almost changing their body composition, which is be having more muscle, having less fat, is almost on everyone's list, right? In some capacity. And we Jesse and I used to talk about it, my business partner, about the idea we essentially guarantee people 100%. Anyone who comes in the door and spends time with us will get stronger, right? We guarantee it.
Right.
But we don't guarantee that you'll lose the body fat or you'll look the way you want to look because we don't have control of what you put in your mouth, right? And unless they want to surrender that control to us, right? Which then I would be willing to guarantee the other parts as well, right?
Right.
But it's such a personal thing. We don't push it on anyone. And, not to go too far down that rabbit hole, but obviously, it's not just, it's the foods, it's, drinking, right? Alcohol is a big thing for many people. And again, we don't judge any of that stuff. We just give them information, right? But that can be a big one. One of our guys was a longtime client, had to step away for a little while, has recently returned, and I hadn't seen him, and I saw him yesterday, and he's lost a ton of weight. And I said, "Wow, you look great. What have you been doing differently?" And he said, he cut out all the sugar. Right? He's like, he's like, I made a conscious choice to look at everything I eat, and if it has added sugar, I don't eat it. Right? He's like, anything I see added sugar, I just have reduced that or removed it, right? And it was, yeah. And I said, so that's amazing. And it is like I can immediately see the change, right?
Right.
And he said, yeah, sugar's and everything. I'm like, yes, it is, right? It's hidden everywhere, and it's insidious, right? And it's not good for you. Like, and one of the things people don't realize about nutrition, right, is we talk about protein a lot around here. Many people have heard the word essential amino acids, right? And they're called essential because we require them for our health, and we can only get them from outside, right? Our body cannot manufacture them. There's also, surprising to some people, essential fats, right? Essential fatty acids, right? But there are no essential carbs. Right? There never has been. And now again, we don't tell people they shouldn't eat them or they can't eat them or whatever. Right? We don't say there's a good foods or bad foods necessarily. Right. But there is no essential amount of carbs. You don't have to have them.
Dude, French bread is my weakness. I don't like kryptonite.
So the thing about this, the thing I try to get people to understand with that, and we won't go too far on this one because this is about you, but it's like the protein we consider like an immutable thing. Everyone gets it, and you know to hit those numbers. So the only two things to play with are the carbs and the fats, right? If you're looking at calories, and it doesn't matter which one you tweak,
Right.
but you got to tweak one of them, right? If carbs go up, which is fine, fat has to go down, right?
Right.
If fat goes up, carbs go down, right? Because if they're both up, right, your chances are you're getting too much, right?
Right.
And it's not a great combination when you have a lot of them together.
Right.
But anyway, that's awesome. So, how has the evidence-based sort of approach of TNT strength aligned with your personal values or your kind of professional mindset?
Oh man. You know, I mentioned how I trust you guys. And so I just show up and you tell me, what it is that I'm doing or whatever. But I also appreciate that if I have a question like, why is that? That you're able to pull in that knowledge to enhance sort of my understanding of what's happening in my body. And so a lot of times I think we naturally, a lot of times, want to, if we trust the professional that we're working with, we trust them because of their knowledge and experience or wisdom, right? And so, with that being said, we also know that these individuals are highly skilled, or at least I believe you're highly skilled in what you do, so that if I do have a technical question, if I do want to go deeper, you're able to provide that deeper knowledge. And I trust that that knowledge is based on your experience and your learning, your teaching, all of that. And then I can back away and just say, okay, I don't need the details. Just tell me what to do. I mean, it's great that, for instance, I mean, it's like any other professional. If I take my car into a mechanic, I'm taking it to someone who knows how to work on my car.
Sure.
It's not that I want them to teach me, but at the same time, if I ask them a question, they're not going to get into all of the sort of technical auto speak. They're going to be able to meet me where I am and communicate with me in a way in which I understand. And then if I want to go even further and technical, they can go there too because they have that knowledge.
Yeah.
And so for us, as any professional, if we've done our job, we've been in the profession for a number of years. We have all of the underlying knowledge to help us, diagnose, to do whatever it is we need to do. But we also have the ability, I'll say, and even empathy to say to people, yes, this is why it works this way, and do it in a way in which is not talking down to people. It's just meeting them where they are and communicating with them in a way that they understand, and then being able to, whether it's your, PhD person or someone just coming in, you can still meet them because you got the knowledge. And that's what I appreciate with respect to having that knowledge base way of carrying out what you do.
Sure.
Without just saying, well, just trust me. I read it somewhere or I saw it on,
Yeah.
TV or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my mentors in, outside of fitness, use the term that like he defines an expert as someone who has memorized someone else's information. Right. So for me, I always want to go beyond that place. Right.
Right.
That, so I use the term scientist, right? Regardless of the fact that I don't have a PhD or whatever, but that idea that you have a depth of knowledge and experience where you can, take A and C and extrapolate to B and explain those things.
Right.
And I try to I try to be able to make things as, very, very straightforward, right?
Right.
But if people want to get into the techno babble, right?
Exactly.
When I have these podcasts, right? This is going to be episode number 186, right? I talk to people at all levels, right? Whether they're PhDs or whatever, and I'm right there.
Right.
And it's because I'm a voracious student myself. I'm constantly looking at stuff and studying. Einstein has the great thing, make things as simple as possible, but no simpler.
Right.
So that's one of my favorite quotes, right? And we want to look at that all the time. I want it to sound like it just is some simple thing,
Right.
but if we need to dig, we can go there too.
Yeah, and the thing about that, and this is, we talk about geeking out in our respective professions. If you're having a conversation with another trainer, it's going to be at a totally different level than a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to be just, well, what about this? What about this? And if I were to listen in on the conversation, I'd probably be wondering, okay, what are you guys talking about? Because I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
And that's how it is when I'm among my colleagues and professionals.
Sure.
We will geek out on, portfolio design or, what's happening in the economy, macroeconomics. We'll start getting into, well, what about this strategy or that strategy?
Sure.
And, we're enjoying this intellectual conversation, quote unquote. But if we were talking with clients, chances are we wouldn't be having the same conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So, what surprised you the most about our approach, which we are under the umbrella of what's commonly known as high intensity strength training, and what sort of misconceptions did you have before starting this approach or this style of training?
What surprised me, I don't know if I could say I was surprised by anything. I mean, I like the fact that it's a 30-minute workout. I like the fact that if we finish early, even better, because I feel that again, trusting you that it was an effective workout. And my body is saying it was an effective workout. I like the muscle failure philosophy. And in my mind, that's the challenge for me to go to the point where I'm literally unable to do it, to do one rep.
Sure.
I like that. So I wouldn't say there was any surprise. Maybe let me think about it. The 30 minutes perhaps, maybe that was it. Being able to get in and get out within 30 minutes twice a week and see results.
Yeah.
So that would probably be, the sort of perception I had prior to coming, that I don't know if I'll be able to, if this is going to be effective or not.
Right.
But I'm going to give it a shot.
Sure.
Other than that, I've been just like, hey man, just tell me what to do
Yeah.
and trust the process.
Yeah, having been doing this for quite a long time now, a lot of companies, would and again, especially in the previous years, it's very standard American culture, right? That we're used to like paying for things by the hour, right? And so it was normal that sessions were an hour. Personal training sessions were sold by the hour. You bought 10 hours of training or whatever. And I was working for a company probably back around 2010 where they sold both hours and half hours, but they would sell a lot of training at the point of sale, right? So you're a brand new client, you came in the door, and while they were getting you to sign up, they talked you into buying some training as well, right?
Right.
And the salesperson is doing that, right? It's got nothing to do with me. And then they call up my office and go, "Hey, got a new guy. He just bought 20 hours of training, right?
Right.
We're sending him your way, right?" And what would happen with these guys is they would start training with me, and they would be tapping out. You know what I mean? 20 minutes in or whatever. Like they're just looking at me like, I got to do another 40 minutes of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
because my style is not designed for that, right? And nobody can train hard for an hour, no matter who they are. They think they can, but they can't. They're consciously or unconsciously holding back, right? Saving energy, right? That kind of stuff.
For the next rep.
Yeah, and they don't like they really don't necessarily know that until they've experienced a different approach. So what would often happen, or basically every time, is that they buy 20 sessions, 10 sessions in, they would just be like looking at me like, "Oh my God." And I'd say, you can buy half-hour sessions, and they're like, "Let's do that."
Right.
And then pretty soon they're ecstatic, right? They're spending half the time. They're getting just as good of a workout, right? Because I got to figure out on my end, how am I going to fill up this other important, right? I guess we're going to stretch, we're going to walk around. I'm going to tell them a story. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I will kill this guy, right? Or gal if I try to hit him that hard, right?
Right.
And, it's funny. So it does work, right? 30 minutes is more than enough. You're one of the, on a spectrum, we have many people who appreciate the efficiency, right? Like yourself. And you recognize, like, if it gets, you have that 30 minutes, which is always plenty. But, maybe today, based on what we designed and how you worked, we finished it in, 22 minutes, right?
Right. Those are good days.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and I would concur. But we do have, and we have other people who literally just decide, like, you know what, that's enough for me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they leave even before I think they're done. Right? They're like, you know what, that was great, and I'm like, okay. And I thought you still have 17 minutes left in your bed, and they're like, nope, I'm happy. Right?
Right. Right.
But we also get those people who, like, maybe I will crush them, and they have been crushed, right? You know what it feels like.
Right. Right.
But they go, well, there's 4 minutes. Like, what are you gonna do to fill up my 4 minutes? Like, you owe me 4 minutes. You know what I mean? And they get really hung up on that, right?
Right.
And we're happy to fill it up for them, right?
Right.
But it's like, do they really need it? Not necessarily. But they're like, oh, I paid for 30, right? Where's my other 7 minutes or whatever. But I appreciate the guys like yourself who are just recognize, like, I just did a good workout. I know it was good. Whatever time is just a bonus, right?
Right.
And I look at that. We look at it ourselves internally that way. I mean, honestly, many of times when we coach each other, it might literally take 12 minutes to do a full workout, 15 minutes.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And they are done.
Right.
I mean, we push each other. And one of the ways to maximize high intensity training is to minimize the rest between sets, right? So you don't rush the actual execution of the exercise. You do that with quality and attention.
Right.
But then you don't dilly dally. Bam, you go right to the next thing, right? And the workouts can be amazingly short. I used to do workouts that would literally take 7 to 9 minutes. People would be warming up. They'd see me walk in, they'd see me walking out. They were still warming up. And they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, my workout's over. Like, I'm done, right? And they're like, what? Like, they can't wrap their head around that idea.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty funny. So have you noticed changes in your mental clarity or energy levels, stress management, or any of that kind of stuff since committing to kind of a consistent strength training program?
This is part of, I want to just make the point. This is part of, my overall fitness, because I run, I lift, I meditate, I pray, and all of them contribute to, having that sort of mindset of, okay, I like to think of myself as being someone who is constantly striving for that inner peace. And so weightlifting definitely plays a role, but so too does running, meditation, prayer. If anything, it's forces me to stay true to my diet, because I sure don't want to have one or two beers before I come in the next morning. And it also, because I do run and I do, again, play golf or gardening, this is all part of that regimen of, whole body, mind, body, spirit care. So I consider this to be just part of the journey, man. Sure. I can't say it's the one thing, because there are so many other things.
Yeah, that's awesome. In the industry, in the fitness industry, it's not uncommon to separate the sort of what is often thought of as mind body, yoga, Pilates, for some reason, certain activities as more mindful. And the strength training is its own little thing. And then there's the cardio thing, right? And it's never made any sense to me, right? Everything you do, but if you're thinking about like a Zen concept, right? You should be mindful of everything you do, whether it's washing the dishes, taking out the garbage, and strength training. In my experience and in my opinion, right, requires a huge amount of mindfulness, right?
Right.
I don't. You shouldn't be having any sort of disassociative thinking, right? I've had clients who literally can't be here now for more than 30 or 40 seconds at a time. You know what I mean? Like, and I've worked with them, and you see it happen right before your eyes. They're in the middle of a set, and all of a sudden, their mind is just going off someplace else. And I would start to have these cues. I'd be like, stop balancing your checkbook. You know what I mean? Like, I could just see the mind just has left the building. Right? I'm like, stop doing your laundry. Whatever. Right? And I say, look, whatever it is that you're worried about or thinking about, like, it should be at the door when you come in, and then you can pick it up on your way out. Right? Because this is time for you to be paying attention to exactly what you're doing. Why you're here to get the most out of it. Right? You shouldn't be anyplace else. Like we play music here, which I think is awesome, and we let people choose, right, what they like. For me personally, I don't hear the music when I work out, right? Because and so I don't care. Like when I have someone come and they go, I can't work out with this song playing, right? In my mind, I'm just like, why do you even know that song is playing, right? You should be totally focused on the work in front of you, and it shouldn't really matter, right? I get kind of like that idea of, that classic saying about you should be able to meditate in a boiler room, right?
Right.
But I don't care what it is, right? Of course I have preferences and styles, right? But I listen to music when I'm not working out. You know what I mean? And I used to teach group exercise classes and people would complain about the music. And I said, you're not here to listen to music. You're here to work out. The music is for me. Right? Well, I'm telling you what to do. Just shut up and do it. It'll work. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't worry about what's playing in the background.
Right.
All right, that's awesome. So, let's see. How has working with the team here at TNT influenced your perspective on consistency and accountability, if it has in any way?
Again, I operate off routines and you know exactly what time or usually what time I'm here. In my mind, it is like getting up, brushing my teeth. I just do it. So, I don't care who's here. As long as the doors are open for me to walk in and start at 5:30, I'm good. If it were a situation where I'll say take the inverse, if I got here, let's say at 5:30 and no one's here, or someone was here sometime and sometimes they're opening up at 5:30 to say, wait till I get everything set up, that would be a problem for me
Mm-hmm.
because my brain operates off of I got to get up at this time in order to do this and this and this. And oh yeah, I got to be there, not at 5:30, but at 5:20 because that's how my brain operates. I need to be there at 5:20.
Sure.
And when I get there, it's like, okay, now why am I here again? Why aren't I at home in bed? And that's when I just say, okay, turn your brain off and just do what this guy say do. And that's when I start my workout.
And again, that's something that I appreciate, and those are like the perfect guys, right? They're ones that will listen and follow instructions and are willing, and are open minded and here to do the work, right? That's like that's like a dream for us. And I'm very similar to you, as I tend to be early all the time, 99% of the time, and yeah, I don't, I mean, especially this is my profession. I take it seriously. And, I don't want people shouldn't be waiting for me, right? It's okay if I'm waiting for them, in my mind. Like, it's not ideal, but
Right.
that's, they're managing their time how they want, but they shouldn't be ever waiting for me, right? They should never be wondering, is he going to be there? Is it going to be open? Right. Right. Like, am I going to get there? And it's like, there's nobody there. That would stink, right? Especially at the crack of dawn.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't want that, and I also appreciate, that you said, and I don't take it personally, of course, that you said you don't care who's here, right?
Right.
That's something that we cultivate within our culture of TNT is the concept that we are like an interchangeable team, right? And it's wonderful for the clients that recognize that the quality will be there regardless of the coach that's in front of them, right? And there's nothing wrong with having a preference,
Right.
but we don't want people to be locked in like, oh, if Liam's not there, I'm just not going to come in, right?
Right.
Right. I want them to recognize, like, wow, it was my workout was just as good. Maybe it's even better because it's a little different, right? It's a change, but that's something that we strongly are cultivating at all times. That you go to Jesse likes to use the term 31 flavors. You go to a standard gym, there's 20 trainers on the team. You ask them a question, you might get 20 different answers, right?
Right.
If you ask the same question to everyone on our team, you're going to basically get the same answer every time.
Right.
Right. The only difference is the package that it's coming out, different voice, different face, but the information will be consistent and congruent. Right. And that's part of the whole reason why I came up with this concept of the truth not trends. Like that was something I came up with probably 20 years ago when I was starting a different company early on.
Right.
And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he was asking me, "Well, what is it you're trying to achieve, or you're looking to accomplish?" With and writing an email to him, I was like, I want something where it's the truth, not the trends. You know what I mean? And then I had that light bulb moment. I was like, that's it right there.
Right.
And I used that in my previous company. Was called Hybrid Fitness, but the tagline was "Truth, not trends." It was like Hybrid Fitness, truth, not trends. Right? It was like the tagline to the company. And then when we started the podcast, if you listen to the original episodes, like I said, this is going to be number 186. So like if you go all the way back to number one, we hadn't decided the name yet. And you can hear Jesse say, "Welcome to Everything You Know Is Wrong." That's what we were going to call the podcast, right? And we hadn't settled on that, even though that was something had been working with for years in the background.
Right.
And then we just said, yeah, truth, not trends. Let's just stay with that, right? And then it's morphed into TNT Strength, right? But most people don't understand that it's not dynamite. The TNT stands for truth, not trends, right?
Right.
And that idea is to be consistent, non-congruent. What does the valid, reliable science have to say about stuff? Not just some hip thing that we saw on YouTube
Right.
that we're just going to stick in there because it's like the flavor of the month, right?
Right.
This year is 37 years in the industry for me. I have
Congratulations on that.
yeah, I've watched the pendulum, right, swing back and forth. I've literally seen every single thing come into fashion, out of fashion, back into fashion again, right? Right now, everybody's talking about the VO2 max thing, right? That was huge back in the 70s and 80s. Cardio was king, right? And everything, and it sort of faded out, and high intensity interval training became the main thing for years.
Right.
And for some people, it's like new. It's been going for 30 years now, high intensity interval training. It started in the 90s.
Wow.
It became that name, right? Interval training's been around for 100 years or forever, right? In one form or another.
Right.
But the name high intensity interval training was coined in the 90s based on some research that came out on various things. And, it's super effective, but for some people, it's a new thing, whatever, right?
Right.
It's just another thing.
Yeah. Well, to your point, it is the philosophy that gets you here. And again, regardless of who's here, I'm expecting the same philosophy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that is what drives and motivates me. I'm a guy who, routine. I want to know there's a process. I can just plug into the process.
All right, right on. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we definitely appreciate it. So,
Yep.
final question, because I know your time is important, and we're doing great. It's 10:34. What advice would you give to other professionals who are considering starting a fitness program, especially one like ours?
That is I'm going to answer it within the context that chances are other professionals are just as busy, and we're all busy, right? Not only with our profession, but also family, other obligations. If you have little kids, you got school, and you're almost like your children's admin experience. You're organizing things for them. I come in at 5:30 in the morning, and I would come in earlier than that.
I do know that.
Only because
I try to pretend I don't know that.
right, it gives me an opportunity to start my day off, quote, the right way, and then it gives me the rest of the day to kind of get certain things done. But my advice would be to try to find that time, to make the time for 30 minutes, and if it's 30 minutes, factor in. If you're here in Oakland, just an hour, 15 minutes to get here, 30 minutes to work out, 15 minutes to get home. And to the extent that you guys have that availability, I would say just make the time, because the payoff is going to be far greater. It's, in my world, we talk about return on investment.
Sure.
And so in this particular instance, I like to think the return on investment is immeasurable, because at the end of the day, you're extending your time here to enjoy the things that are really important to you, whether it's your kids, your spouse, or gardening, golf, whatever. This is a way that helps to create that longevity. And, people can put a price on that longevity. I like to think of it as, what are you willing to pay for one extra day here on earth?
Right.
And if it's 30 minutes a day of working out, well, write that check, right?
And it's not a day, it's 30 minutes twice a week.
Twice a week.
It's like less than 1% of the time you have after you've done everything else in your life.
Right.
Sleeping, eating, working, relationships, right? It's literally the time left. Remember, we all have 168 hours in a week, right?
168 hours.
And when we subtract all the normal stuff out, the time you have left is still only about 1% of that time.
Right.
To get that 1 hour in.
Why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that, again, it is the other thing is, think of it as a commitment. That's a powerful word in my world, where, you can make a decision to do something, but it's the commitment to stick with it.
Right.
over time, and making the commitment, not just the decision, is where you find the results.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I view it. It's a commitment. I was telling my brother, I tried to get my brother in here, but he lives in Maryland.
I'm from DC originally, so yeah, I know it well.
Right. So anyway, because he's old school, he's in the gym for 2 hours and he's like, anyway. So that's what I would say. Make the time, make the commitment, and just do it.
But DC is was my hometown, so yeah, I know Maryland quite well. Yeah, that's all good stuff. Yeah, I appreciate everything that you've shared, and it means a lot. Yeah, and we we don't know even now if exercise actually extends anyone's life, right? They don't have hard scientific proof, but what we do know is it extends the quality of the time that you have, right? And that's still worth it, right? Do you want to be doing what you like to do right up till whenever your body decides that it's had enough, right? Or do you want to be sitting in a wheelchair or stuck on the couch with an oxygen tube in your nose,
Right.
feeling in pain, having a hard time getting out of the chair and going to the bathroom, right? And watching the world go by, right? You don't want that. And we have one of our clients, only one so far, thank goodness, who has passed away. And he was a guy I'd been working with for about 12 years.
Wow.
And he was 89 years old. And his daughter called me. He passed unexpectedly. No strange circumstances. But his daughter called me and said, I just need to let you know, he passed away. She said, I took him to the opera. We went out and had a great dinner, took him home, and he didn't get up the next day. And I was like, sign me up for that. Right? Like he went 89 years doing everything, and then he just whatever. But there was no slow, terrible, dragging unpleasantness.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, I'm sorry, and that sounds pretty good to me. Right.
Good long life.
Yeah. Because I've seen the other side of it too, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People suffering strokes and all these complications. It's miserable.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen here.
Yeah. We don't want any of that.
Right. Right.
So I will let you go. It's 10:40, so we should be pretty good.
Yeah, this is good, man.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much
Absolutely.
for coming and joining me.
Yeah, I'm glad I could do it.
Yeah. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
You got it.
See you on Friday. Man.
Cheers. All right. I'll be ready for you.
All right.
Boom, baby. What's up, people? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Truth Not Trends. That's right here at TNT Strength Headquarters, Truth Not Trends.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget to share with a friend.
You can find us on the web at tntstrength.com.
That's right, TNT Strength now coming to you in person at 5255 College Avenue in Oakland, California. You can call the studio 510-768-5421. You can also text us at 855-796-9905.
Or shoot us an email at contact@tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, stay off of that stupid blue bubbly bosun.
Get rid of that, Desmond.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.